Photoshop is a great program to use with Lightroom. This will help take your images further beyond just color editing, but it will take it to alter placement and adjusting form. To start on Photoshop within Lightroom, select on the image you want to edit. Right-click on the photo thumbnail, select Edit, Edit in Photoshop. A window will pop up which will give you 3 options to choose from. When you're first starting to edit an image, the best option to choose is Edit a Copy with Lightroom. The reason why you want to select this over Edit a Copy would be because you want to export the initial edits that you have made on Lightroom. If you just select on Edit a Copy, the Lightroom adjustments will not be visible. Both Edit a Copy options will create a duplicate file of the original image just in case you do not like the edits you have made on Photoshop. The third option, Edit Original, is to export the file as it was uploaded. But remember, it's always great to have your Lightroom edits already in place before you take it further on Photoshop. Once you have reached the Photoshop interface, the image you have exported on Lightroom should appear on the center. Before you get started on editing an image, there are a couple of things within the Photoshop interface that you need to become familiar with. Firstly, the interface is made of panels and tools. The main toolbox can be found on the left-hand side of the panel. These tools will help you make adjustments to your image, while the other tools found on the top bar are more options that will show up whenever you select a tool from the main box. On the right-hand side, you will find pre-arranged panels. These panels are adjustable and custom to the type of image or design you are working with. The panel that one chooses to have appear will depend on their design style. Since we are starting out, these are the specific panels you need to have appear to help your basic workflow. If you do not find these panels, you will select on Windows, and in the drop-down menu, you will find a list of panels that are available. The ones with a check mark indicate that the panel already exists in your workspace. If there is no check mark, that means that they are not included in the working space. So you must click on it to have it pop up. These are the following panels you should have appear: Color, History, Adjustment, and Layer. The first panel we're going to look at is the Layer panel, which is usually located on the bottom right panel. The purpose of having layers is the ability to edit one part of your image without affecting the other parts you have made. Let's say, for example, you have 2 duplicate layer images. Instead of experimenting with your original layer, which has already made edits, you can add the adjustments on the second layer. You can add a second layer that is the same image and make adjustments you want, such as adding a mustache or changing the color of the hair to see if it would work out for your image. This not only prevents you from redoing your entire image if you are not happy with it, but let's say if you didn't like the adjustments you made, you can easily just remove it without affecting the layer with all the previous edits. Here are some important features of layers you must know. Creating a new layer. Here is an important rule. Once you have exported your image from Lightroom to work on Photoshop, the first thing you must do is make a duplicate or create a new layer. To create a new layer, there are 2 ways you can approach it. On the layer panel, click on the icon with 3 lines. Once the option appears, click on New Layer. The second option is to use the shortcut Command-Shift-N. Take note that you will know when you've successfully created a new layer when there is another box that appears on top of the background layer. You'll also notice that the thumbnail looks different from the one labeled background. Also remember, when you have created this new layer, you are unable to make direct adjustments to the image because there's simply no image in it. Now that you have 2 layers on the document, it's crucial to also remember that whatever is currently highlighted or appears darker on the layer panel is the layer you are working on. So if you decide to make any adjustments, make sure you pay attention to the layer you are working on. To duplicate a layer, all you need to click on is the shortcut Command J. Now, if you wanted to make more direct adjustments like conceal blemishes or make something appear bigger, you would need to create a duplicate layer. To duplicate the image you have imported, you can click on the icon with 3 lines on the layer panel. Once the option appears, click on Duplicate Layer. When you start having a lot of layers, it's important to rename the layer. If you are unsure about the action you are going to be taking on the layer, you can label the layer or double-click on the text, which will prompt the layer panel to allow your text to be changed. So whenever you are going to duplicate a layer, make sure you label it to explain the edit you are making on the image. For example, if you are creating a new layer to remove blemishes on the image, label the layer as Removal of Blemishes to make navigating around layers a lot easier. If you are unhappy with the adjustments you have made, you can delete the layer just by moving the layer to the trash icon that appears on the bottom right corner of the panel, or select on the layer, click on the icon with the 3 lines and select Delete Layer. Sometimes when you are working with multiple layers and edits, the adjustments get quite confusing, and you may want to focus on particular adjustments you are making. You can toggle the visibility by adjusting the opacity of your layer. To adjust the opacity of the layer, you would just need to select on your desired layer and then click on the opacity and then select on the percentage you want the layer to appear. If you want to immediately see the differences between adjustments you have made, you can completely hide your layer by clicking on the eye icon on the layer. This will hide it as if it were not there. The purpose of this usually is for you to see the changes you have made, and if you truly appreciate it or just want to continue experimenting more, you can see the differences. Creating layer groups. When you have made multiple layers that are focused on adjustments of a particular area, sometimes navigating through these adjustments might become too overwhelming when you want to add more. So once you have completed that section, instead of scrolling back and forth, you can create groups within each layer. You can select your layers in these 2 specific ways. If you want to select from one end to the other, select the top layer, then while holding Shift, click on the layer you want to highlight. This will then prompt it to select all the layers in between. If you want to be more particular with your selections, hold the Command key and then start selecting on specific layers you want to work with or put them into a group. It's important for you to become familiar with the layer tool so you fully understand how you can make your edits without ruining another layer. Let's pause and try now. Export your photo from Lightroom to Photoshop. Create a duplicate layer and a new layer. Rename your layers and delete it. Toggle the visibility and transparency of your layer. Create a layer group. If you are comfortable doing these following things, you can then move on to the next tutorial. If you don't feel comfortable, it's best that you watch this again.